Okay, so this is the wig. This is gonna be a little lengthy, but yeah. So I did like an unboxing of it, but I have no clue where that footage is. So we're gonna start from here. We're gonna start off by taking out this comb, because this is where your part's gonna go. So you just don't want a comb where like it's just gonna look stupid. So you don't want to do that because it's super duper unnecessary. And then after this, you take it out. You want to be careful with this because you don't want to pull and tear your lace. As you can see, I tore mine just a little bit, but it's fine. But the more accurate you are with this, that is not a word, accurate you are with this, then the easier it will be. So now that that's out, you see this a little bit, but nothing crazy. I went ahead and bleached the knots on this unit. They did not want to bleach, but you'll see in my installation video what I went ahead and did with this. So from here, what I'm gonna do is I went ahead and washed it, and I'm gonna go ahead and put the part where I want it to be, because of course we want a nice deep side part. That's how Tiana's hair was, and I will be using my original version that I did as a reference, and for that version I used photos of her, so this makes it much easier. So we're gonna go ahead and part, and then once we finish parting, we're gonna go ahead and put it into sections to start the cutting process. This is a 14-inch full lace unit with a stretchable cap panel in the back. I'll put the link for this exact wig from Wig Encounters below. Now, I did notice something with this wig is that when I did the exact same thing I did with the other one, my part's going to change a few times, so keep that in mind. But I did the same thing, but you could see the cap on this one a little bit more than you could on the other one, so I'm assuming that the cap construction isn't exactly the same because they were not exactly the same. So this is the side piece where this is the part that's going to go behind your ear. So you want to part this a little further back than you would, just because you want to make sure that the whole section back there is parted so that you can put a lot of layers on the side where it will lay flush to your head. So this is the back section, and this is where all of the this would be the second section. This is where all the layers would be within the back of the nape all the way up to the crown of the head, and this is the bang piece that will go right here in the front. So you should end up with 3 sections just like this, parted off to make sure that you're not going to accidentally cut. So we're going to pretty much cut it all the same, but yeah. So we're going to start here with the side. So that's the one that I wore and reviewed in the back, and this is the one that I'm going to cut now. So what you're going to do is you're going to pull the hair away from the actual head like such, and you're going to cut. The thing that you want to remember with cutting is that when you cut away from your head and then it falls, it makes a tapered look towards the bottom. If you cut straight down and across, it's going to be blunt. So when you cut like such, and then you go ahead and let this hair fall, it's going to give that nice tapered look at the bottom of the hair, as you can see on the other wig. Now, in this video, I could not find my really good shears. So these are some really bad dull shears that I had sitting around. And then at one point, y'all going to see me use like some regular paper scissors, just because I just couldn't, for the life of me, remember where the hell my shears were, and I wasn't trying to leave until I was done. So this is the only section you should be doing this with, and this is to create this back piece. You're going to use this as a guideline. You're going to use this for a guideline for the back part, so that it all kind of, you'll see once we get there. So you're just pulling out and you're cutting. Now, this is the length of this. I'm going little by little because normally I would have cut way more off because I'm used to doing this, but you got to remember that if you cut too much off, you can't put it back. But if you cut a little bit and you just, you keep trying it on and make sure, and it's going to vary depending on whose head it is, because some people's foreheads and faces are longer. So sometimes you might want to leave it a little bit longer depending on the style, the desired style. So for the bottom section here, what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and you're going to pull this out, like I said to do earlier. You're going to pull it out and you're going to cut it. We're going to make the bottom portion of this, so where that's parted, shorter, and the top of this longer, so that you have a think of a 7. Just think of the letter 7. I mean the letter 7. Oh girl, the number 7, and how it looks. It's longer. It darts out at the top and then it comes down at the bottom. So that's the shape that you pretty much want to do with this. Now I'm doing it in smaller sections just because I want to make sure that I don't end up with they're just too short. And listen, you can always get scissor happy believing that you got it and you killing it, and then you look at it and it's too short. So what do? You know, to have to add tracks to a full lace wig defeats the entire purpose. This could have just been a frontal. So to avoid that, and as you can see, I'm struggling with these really dull scissors. Shears, excuse me. Act like I didn't go to beauty school, girl. So yeah, I'm just going through, just making it a general shape. I'm only cutting off probably about 2.5 inches of hair at the most. You know, not very much. I like personally to do this while the hair is wet for the initial cut, because it's easier to put the hair in the direction that I would like it in. And then you'll see we're going to round brush it and do that whole thing. So just take your time, because that way everything will just, it's going to make a lot more sense if you take your time with it. Sometimes if it's going to take you a couple of days to do it, take your time, because again, buying a wig, then wasting the money by jacking it up is not very smart. If you're looking to try this for the first time, I would suggest doing this on a synthetic wig. Gives you the same situation, you know, it's the same thing. Although synthetic wigs don't really lay like this when they're wet, or if you just have a wig laying down or just laying around, then do it. As you can see, this is when I transitioned to the paper scissors, because those dull ones was just not work, and it did the job. When I go ahead and texture it and all that, I won't be using this, but for the initial cut, I just couldn't take it no more. So of course, it's not really what you have, it's how you use it. I've done full cuts with these type of scissors. I don't suggest it on real hair because they're terrible for your ends and they will give you the worst split ends ever. But you know, the proper tools always work. But sometimes when in China, when in Rome, girl, do what you gotta do. So going through, and we're just cutting it a little bit more and more, and as you can see, as I'm going down, it's starting to get longer at the top, and the back is more of a tapered look, because once we go ahead and start to bump it and curl it, you'll see why this was done. Now, I don't know what it is about this cap, but it seems like the cap was put on crooked, and then as you can see, like that line, it seemed like it was put on crooked, so that's why you can start to see in my part later on, you'll notice you can see it a little bit, which is fine. You just take some concealer and call it a day. So in this section, this will be the bang part, which is coming down over the eyes. So when you go ahead and cut straight up and straight across, you're going to end up with the same thing, which is, you see it's blunt there, but when you let it go, it's going to have this nice tapered swoop bang feel at the top. Now, for me, I'm cutting this based on what I see, because this fits my head. For someone else, it may be a little bit shorter. Sometimes it may be a little bit longer. And always make sure you put, I like to call it fake body in it. So when you do round brush it or you bump it, you know where it's going to lay. Because sometimes if you cut it to the exact length and you try to bump it, it's gonna be so, it's gonna like when Beyonce let Blue Ivy cut her bangs with those paper scissors like that, So here I'm just pulling it straight out, and I'm cutting so that it could just go ahead and lay, and I'm just giving myself a guideline to understand that where is it going to be short, where is it going to be longer, so that when I do go in and round brush it and it is longer, I can see what needs to be shorter and what needs to be longer. Again, this is one of those things that takes time, and after a while you start to understand. It's very easy to do, and I'm trying to keep this in layman's terms. It's easy, because over directed, under directed, off base, on base, that confuses people and it kind of discourages people. So we're gonna just say pull it straight out to your chest and cut it. Okay, that's what we're doing. So that would be the side section and some of the bang, but not really. That's really just more so the side section. This section at the top is the bang section. So I'm just going through and I'm cutting all of the bang section that I sectioned off in the beginning. I'm just cutting it all to one length so that it feels, you know, like, okay, we're getting somewhere. The hair is getting shorter, but it doesn't look butchered. That's pretty much what you want. If at this point things are starting to look a little bit on the I don't know side, resection off everything and then not necessarily start over, but just reevaluate the whole look that you're doing. Does all your 3 sections have a section? Is some pieces longer than others? So if the back is longer than the sides, you know, that's good. If it's shorter than the sides, you got a problem. So as you can see now, as I'm gonna blend these into each other, and this is the easiest way starting out to do this, is to understand to work in sections. Some people, if you watch professional hairstylists, they don't work in sections because they're used to it. They know what they're doing, and this is something that they do every day. But if you're a person who doesn't know what you're doing every day, sections will save your life, and it will save your wig, and it will save the hairstyle. And always go longer and then go shorter once you actually put it on your head. This is still a wig block, so again, there is no eye line or whatever. I'm using another wig as pretty much my guide. So at this point, we just have a short wig with a little bit of layering in it, and that's about it. So I feel like we really ain't did nothing but take some hair off. And you think why you just didn't cut it all even around? That's because that's not the look. So as you can see here, it's like goes straight from this like regular lace, and then the actual cap starts to come in. But I didn't have that issue on this other one, and they're the exact same wig because they sent me the same exact wig. I don't know if the cap construction, like I said, was either crooked or what it was, but that was interesting. So on this side, I was looking to see if I got the same feel, like does it do this on this side too? And it did. So as you can see, there is a lot of body in it now, so I can see that it's going to sit up like I want it to. The part is still horrendous to me. I don't like it at all, but we'll fix it as time goes by. So at this point, you're going to take your blow dryer. I had just round brushed some gray hair that I'm doing, so excuse my brush, but so you're just going to go ahead and you're going to round brush this wherever you see where there should be a curve, which would be at the end of this entire look. All of this look has a bump in it. That's what you want to do. So you take this and you go ahead and bump it. At this point, I was just really trying to give it a shape. I wasn't trying to really go in for the whole like neat look because I know I have more cutting to do, so it really just didn't serve much of a purpose. Because this part right here in the front, there are 3 sections that you're going to want to like bump this in. So as you can see, this front section, this is gonna go towards my face. So the brush should be rolled like a roller towards your forehead. The side part, as you can see, this middle part right here, this is gonna go down, and then this back part is gonna go out. So there are 3 sections in this bang area. There's the very beginning, the middle, and the back. So don't forget that, because if you try to do this, I'm telling you, you do this part wrong, it's going to easily turn into somebody's auntie's. It's going to really be the auntie style. I'm just saying though. The reason why this is so edgy, because it's split up and it looks more effortless and more chic. Don't worry about the ends of this being curly, because we're going to handle that in a second. But all you want to do is give yourself, you see that body and that root area, that's what you want to keep. That's what you want. So after a while, you should probably end up with a nice little school pictures get down popping off. Like I could put a barrette in this and send somebody on their way. So I'm just round brushing this whole section to make sure that it has a nice hard bump in it, because I am going to go through after this and change. So you can see all those layers that we cut are now starting to pop up. All of it is now starting to look like a style. It's starting to more resemble what we're going for. And when hair is wet, it tends to do that. You just don't know what the hell it's looking like. Just saying. But I want to thank Fab Wigs for actually sending me another one of these wigs to actually try this on, because again, I wanted to show you guys this, and it was my first time in a long time doing a cut like this, so I didn't want to record it because I know how frustrating it is to record, y'all know, when you're trying to do something. All of this stuff that I'm doing right now takes a lot of work to put the lights in the camera and make sure everything is angled right and it's in focus for a simple haircut. Now, as you can see, we starting to get some good old smoke, girl. That means that we submitting that good old bump up in there. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it needs to just have some type of body in it, so I can kind of see how everything is laying and where we're gonna go with it. So at this point, you should have pretty much short on the side, the back should be longer, and your bang should have a hell of a bump in it. That's where we should be at. Again, don't worry about the part, because we're going to go ahead, do a little makeup trick with that. That's the only thing I didn't like about this unit, and I kind of struggle with on my other one, is that the knots they were very frustrating to bleach. So you're going to take your pressing comb. You guys know I've been doing this on my channel for years, and we're going to just go in to lay this side. This is the side that's going to go flush on the side of your face. So you want this to look as flat as possible. And again, you're going to cut this lace off. So you want it to look like as if it's coming from your scalp. You threw a little bit of edge control and or hairspray on it, and you just went ahead and slicked it behind your ear. So you want to make this side as flat as you can. And then for the roots of this part, we still want that bump in it, but I want it to kind of go up and then drop, because we're gonna straighten those roots. So we don't want it to just be like a full curl, so we're gonna loosen this up just a little bit, but not a lot, and it's gonna start to give you this look, which is more of a bump and a feel to it. So once you do that, you're gonna take your flat iron, and you're only gonna go to the roots, to the ends, and you're just gonna bust one of those. And as time goes on, as the one in the background, it'll start to just lay like that naturally. But that bump at the top, with the help of a little bit of hairspray, will keep that, those roots very much voluminous like that. It's just the easiest way to do it without trying all of the over directing and pin curling and that whole thing. Because sometimes people get scared when you pin curl something and then you take it out and you brush it out and you be like, why is it so tight? They don't know how to. So this is an easier method to do. So here you're just gonna go, and as you start to see, it's starting to have that shape of the other one. It's starting to look more like this one now. So I'm gonna repart this part like 8 more times because it was killing my whole soul, people. So what we're gonna do now is, because the bang is obviously still too long, we're gonna do that same method. We're gonna go back, and I had tried it on at this point to see like where everything was, but I still knew that it was too damn long. So we're gonna go up, we're gonna cut straight across. So that's why I'm trying to get everything up. We're gonna go and cut straight across. And as you do this, it already has that bump in it because we already did it. It starts to lay like that very naturally. So it's not a very hard thing to do. Anything that you pull straight up and you cut straight across will automatically have a taper look to it when you let it drop, especially when you put somebody in. So now it looks like that. Still too long, but I want to show you. If you at this point now, we rocking and rolling. You in a good place right now, okay? So what you want to do now is go ahead, and that's all I'm doing here, is just cutting a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more, just so that it starts to look more and more like it's supposed to, Now, the back section here is the little piece that goes in the back where it looks like I kind of got it bumped. So it's this, we're back at the 7 part, okay? We're back at the 7 part. So we're doing the top part of the 7, and then we're doing the lower part. So you said these are just blunt. We want to go ahead and pull it straight out so it can have more of a tapered look like the back of this head does, because all of this, as you can see, is all kind of just one length. And I'm going back just to check everything to make sure everything is cool. And what I like to do when I cut is to move it in the opposite direction it lays, because it'll let me know how those layers are going to look once I bump it in the back. And that's all I did. You could round brush this in the back if you want to. You could take the same part and do it while it's wet, but I chose to not do it like that because it's harder to see for you guys. So for all of you guys who are starting out, you just want to keep going through and cutting, checking and cutting, checking and cutting, checking and cutting. That's all you're doing at this point, is checking and cutting to make sure that the shape is still right, but you're getting it short enough where it's the desired look. You don't necessarily have to do it as short as I did it. You could keep it where it was in the beginning and flat iron it and then keep it pushing, I like to use these pins because they kind of give me the section of an ear. It shows you like, okay, this is where the ear would go. I have longer ones. I don't know where the hell they at though. So here is the piece that goes behind my ear. So you see it's a little too long there. We're just gonna go up and cut it some more. And then as you can see here, I just keep looking at this other one. I'll put some photos at the bottom that you guys can look at as a reference if you would like to. I'll link some of Tiana's pictures as well at the bottom so you can use those as a reference. And at this point, you should already now kind of get what's going on. So go back, and that's what I'm doing. I'm just going back and cutting off more and more and more so that I can get the shape that I want. And at this point, you're just going for the shape. That's it. And then you're going to start to bump it. Some people will bump it first and then go and start cutting more so they can see it, because sometimes it makes it easier for them. It just depends on the person. You just don't, again, I cannot stress this enough, do not cut a whole bunch off or you're going to be so mad at yourself. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking some thinning shears and I'm thinning out the hair. Again, these wigs are very full. That's why I opted to use this particular wig in this company, because their density is really good, and you just want to thin out, especially not so much the roots but more so just the ends, because you want it to have this nice tapered feathery look at the ends. And it's hard to achieve that when the hair is it's just too full. And because this is a very short cut, you don't want to end up in a situation where you out here literally like, you looking crazy. So here I just went through and I just bumped it and kind of caught, and then just ran my fingers through it and kind of let it fall naturally. So you see, it's shorter. This is when we cut the other side short. We did the front bang piece, and then we did the back. And there you go. You should have something like this. So my next video is going to be me applying it with the bolt hole tape and the little extra stuff. So there you go. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll catch you guys in my next one.